Welcome back, everyone, to episode 3 of Mr. Zepeda's SEL Classroom. I hope you're doing the best that you can today. In last week's episode, we looked at the CBT triangle, which was think, feel, and do. In today's episode, we're going to look at think and learn more about the brain. Today, we're going to focus on our frontal lobe and working memory. The frontal lobe is right here. It's the part of the brain that helps us make decisions and a whole lot of other things that we're not really going to go into right now. The brain is kind of like a computer,
Just like your
and each part of the computer does different things. Let's keep thinking about the brain like a computer. Have you ever noticed that on your computer, when you have too many things open, that your computer gets really slow or sometimes it just stops working?
Oops!
Now let's test our brain computer. What we're about to do is called the frontal lobe test. I'm going to show you some numbers on the screen for just 1 second, and then I'm going to take them away. And then you have to tell me what numbers you saw.
Round 1, fight!
What numbers did you see? Okay, so now I'm going to show you some new numbers. That was pretty easy, right?
Round 2, fight!
What numbers did you see this time? Yeah, the second one is probably a little bit harder for you to remember.
Question!
Why do you think that is?
Answer!
Our brain can only hold a certain amount of objects at the same time. When I'm talking about objects, I don't want you to think about physical things like a phone or like this remote or like this microphone clip. Like, no, we're not talking about physical objects. What we're talking about is ideas, things in your head, right? Our frontal lobe can only hold 3 to 7 objects at the same time. Now let's look at an example. Let's imagine life before coronavirus. You're sitting in math class and you have a D in that class. Yikes. And your teacher puts a math problem on the board. You're trying to focus, but you can't stop thinking about your crush. And then you start thinking about the fight you got into with your mom this morning. But now you're thinking about all the homework you have to do after school. And then you just remember that you have work, but you forgot to call your boss and tell him that you couldn't go because you have a soccer game today. And now you're getting a Snapchat from your friend, and your friend is mad at you because you didn't respond to them last night. And now you can't focus on the math that's in front of you because you have all of these problems in your head and you can't seem to get them out of you. And then your teacher is in front of you and all of a sudden they're like, "Hello? Are you okay?"
Help!
That kind of situation happens all the time. Let's look at this example and think about working memory. Our brain can only hold 3 to 7 objects at one time. And all of those problems are more than one brain can handle. But what can we do about all of these problems? Well, here's something we can do. Let's think of our brain as a house. Forget about the computer. Let's just think about it as a house. And in your house, you have 7 chairs, okay? Each chair represents one of the problems from our example. Your math grade, your crush, the fight with your mom, the homework, the work in the soccer game problem, your friend on Snapchat, and then the math problem that's on the board. To do math, you need to have all of your chairs open. If you're thinking about all of those problems, there's no space for math.
Social distance!
Now I want you to think about each of your problems as a person in your house that needs to go back to their house. What we're doing here is called compartmentalizing, right? We're putting everything into its own compartment. Everything goes to its own house. When we try to solve all of our problems at the same time, we are asking our brain to do something impossible. We need our whole brain to be able to problem solve. The first step is for you to get those problems out of your brain and onto a piece of paper, onto a Google document, onto your phone, somewhere other than your brain. Because otherwise, it just stays there. Then I want you to think about when and where these problems are happening. Is this a now problem or a later problem? It's hard to say which one is which sometimes, but usually a now problem is the one that's right in front of you. The math problem, that's the one that's in front of you right now. That's the one that needs to stay in your house. Okay, So before we go into this next section, I want to show you what this looks like in a Google Doc. I have each problem written down at the top of each column and spaces below to say if this is a now or a later problem, and then a space below that to say where the problem is happening. Now let's listen to see how we do this. Now let's think about all of the other problems. What is a good time for you to think about your crush? Probably not during math class. I mean, you probably want to think about that during lunch or after school. How about the fight with your mom? That's probably an after-school problem. That problem lives literally at your house. Your mom doesn't follow you to school, right? Like my mom doesn't follow me to work. I don't think so.
Mom?
Okay, so now the homework. Homework is also a home problem. It's literally in the name, home work. What about the work and the soccer game problem? Well, that one's a little different. That one isn't a now problem, but it's probably something that you need to take care of as soon as possible because you have to let your boss know or you have to let your coach know what's going to happen. And that has to happen before school. But it's not the problem that's right in front of you. So, you need to set a time on your piece of paper when you're going to solve that problem, when you're going to think about that problem. Probably while you're in the hall or ask the teacher to go to the bathroom. There it is. Okay, so now the problem with your friend who reached out to you on Snapchat. That it's so hard when the people that we care about are mad at us. But we have to remember that we have to respect our time. Our time is very, very important. People need to learn how to respect our time. When we're getting our education, when we're getting those things that are for our future, we need to learn how to respect that time and learn how to get others to respect that time. A quick message to your friend could just be like, hey, let's talk about this after school. I understand how hard it is to tell a friend or someone that you love, a parent, that right now is not the right time. But people need to learn to respect our time, especially friends, especially parents, because they want to support us and make us better people. Now that you know where these problems live and when you're going to solve them or think about them, I want you to imagine telling those problems to go back to their homes. You have already written it down when you are going to solve these problems and think about them, not math class. Now your mind is clear and ready to do math. Maybe. I know I joke a lot about math, but that's only because I love math. If I wasn't a social worker, I would probably be a math teacher. What? I love math! Stop it! We can't solve all of our problems in our head. It's literally impossible. We need to get them out of our head to do it the best way. If we don't get our problems out of our head the right way, the best way, then they'll come out the wrong way. And they'll hurt other people around us, they'll hurt ourselves by getting angry, yelling, saying things that we don't mean, or just thinking bad about ourselves and feeling bad about everything that's happening in our lives. Remember, behavior is what you choose to do. But that doesn't mean that you're alone in all of this. If you're having a lot of problems and you just don't know what to do, or you saw this video and you're just like, I mean, I understand, but I don't know how I can possibly get all of this out of my mind. Talk to someone. Ask someone that you love. Ask a teacher. Ask a friend. A social worker. So, now you have all these problems and you don't know how to solve them. What do? Well, make sure you watch next week's episode on problem solving and how to know if your problem is a think problem or a do problem. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for watching. I'm Mr. Zepeda. I love you guys, and peace out.